Alrighty, welcome online, ladies and gentlemen. We're just setting up for today's event. We are live streaming into multiple locations. Do us a favor, type in exactly where you're watching us from as you join us in the room. All right, welcome online, ladies and gentlemen. For those that do not speak fluent English, have a quick listen to this about closed captions.
Por favor, vaya a la parte inferior de la pantalla en Zoom o YouTube y haga clic en subtítulos para leer en español.
Kérlek menjünk képernyő aljára, a Zoomon vagy a YouTube-on, a Closed Caption részre, és ott el tudod olvasni magyarul a feliratot.
Silakan klik di layar bawah pada Zoom atau YouTube dan klik caption untuk membaca dalam bahasa Indonesia.
Pour les sous-titres en français, veuillez cliquer au bas de votre écran Zoom ou YouTube sur CC ou Closed Captions.
Zoom または YouTube の画面の下部に移動し、字幕をクリックして日本語で読んでください。
請到屏幕底部點閱隱藏字幕以閱讀中文。
Παρακαλώ πηγαίνετε στο κάτω μέρος της οθόνης, στο Zoom ή στο YouTube και κάντε κλικ στους υπότιτλους για να τα διαβάσετε στα ελληνικά.
請到屏幕底部點擊隱藏字幕以閱讀中文.
אנא עברו לתחתית המסך בזום וביוטיוב ולחצו על תרגום לכתוביות בעברית.
Proszę zejść na dół ekranu na Zoomie lub YouTubie i kliknąć napisy, żeby przeczytać po polsku.
Alrighty, welcome online, ladies and gentlemen, and do me a favor, please welcome your MC for today, which is Irene Trivalutis.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today with you all today, and I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. We have people logging in from all over the world. Let me see what we have here. We have Perth, Washington, Nigeria, Virginia, Australia, Ontario, Canada, Boca Raton, Florida, New Zealand. Oh my God, everybody's logging in from all over the world, and I'm excited to be here with you today. We are also live streaming in multiple platforms, including YouTube, so you can watch and share the playback with your team members. I'm very excited to introduce to you today our Sergio de la Mora, that he is our Vice President of Sales internationally, and I had the pleasure of meeting with him as soon as he joined the team, actually, and helped me launch my Greek team. Thank you so much, Sergio. Welcome aboard.
Hey, thank you so much, Irene. It's a pleasure to be here with you and everyone tonight, and morning for many of you. You know, I'm very happy to see all the great things happening in Greece, Irene. I've actually become very good friends with your team over there, and because they're growing so fast, we're talking almost daily, and I know they have a lot of good things. They're super excited, and they're a great fit with our culture. I'm happy that they feel at home with us. And so we're here. We're closing out the year. You know, time's going so fast, and we don't want any of you to miss out on anything. So I want to just have an announcement from Ryan today, just to give you a little reminder. We always take your privacy and your protection very seriously. So I just want to let you know that for commissions, we're turning on the two-factor authentication for the PayMentor Numi wallets. And so that has already been turned on. And we know that if it's an inconvenience, you know, we do offer an alternative option that you can use, and you can contact our call center if you're not sure how to do it. But that's what we're going to do. We have iPay, another option there. So we want just to make sure that you're aware that it's actually not something that's 100% under Numi's decision to turn on and off. But at the end of the day, in conjunction with our vendors, we want to make sure that you are all protected. Someone made an example this week when I was talking to some leaders, and this is their words, you know, but it's kind of saying, you know, how would you like to wake up one day and maybe find that some of your commissions are not there? So it's just, again, something for your safety. And if you need assistance in making a switch to iPayout, or if you have any further questions, please contact customer service and continue to use our help.numi.com. so you're always aware and know what's going on. And I want to congratulate a lot of you. I've seen a lot of momentum in the last 2 weeks with Achieve, and that's a great thing. I'm going to keep talking about it because it's just so important. We're sending out leaderboards. Now we're going to start recognizing a lot of you who are doing so much. And I actually logged in today and saw a lot of qualifiers already at the 40 points. So today I'm going to have a little bit of fun with you guys. I want to motivate all of you. This is the bag that you'll be getting if you get 40 points at least. So everyone wins here. The purpose is for you to go to one of the Achieve trips, wherever reason you are. But with 40 points at the end of the promotion, you will qualify for this bag. So this is a really cool bag, and it's perfect for members who are business builders because, as I show it to you briefly, here you can take out a branded Numi duffel right here. This bag actually has magnetic connectors at the bottom here, and you can use it by itself, and there's pockets inside. But one of my favorite features is this wonderful thing, and this is actually a garment bag. It's also branded. It's black, very useful. So here, you can use it to go on your business trips, or if you're just going on leisure for the week, you can take the duffel bag that goes inside. But you can hang up your suits, your blazers, skirts, whatever it may be. There's 4 useful pockets. And then this all connects to that bag with those magnetic strips and close it there. And even better for those of you that travel with carry-ons, now you don't have to take another bag. I personally have to take a big suitcase every time I take a suit. Not anymore with this. And one cool thing about this is that it even has this little opening here, so you can even put it on your carry-on or even on your bag through there. So super, super excited to have this here as a sample for you tonight. And all you need to do is get 40 points to get that bag. But our objective here is for you to get at least 100 points so that you can be at one of the events. You will need 100 points to be able to participate, but 100 points will get you the bag. And you will also get a $300 travel credit. If you get 150 points, just as a reminder, we will cover your hotel for one of these events. And if you get up to 200 points, you will get an additional $300 travel certificate. So we want all of you there. This is a very important evolution for Numi because we have our diamond trip, but we want to create this experience so that you can get training and help us work together to get you to diamond. But another thing that Aaron wants us to focus on is not only the training and the part to have together with one another, but we also want to share personal development at these trainings. And so, as you know, we have 3 trips. We have one for the Americas that will be in Las Vegas. We will have one for Europe and Africa that will be in Croatia. And we have the 3rd one for Asia Pacific, which will be in Thailand. And again, I know the question is, when are you going to announce the dates? Just as a reminder, as soon as we get closer to finalizing the total number of qualifiers, then that will give us a better idea to work with venues so that we can start closing out contracts. And that will help us to have a good idea for all of you as to when you should plan to be at one of these events. But you do not want to miss any of these Achieve trips, and you definitely don't want to miss the first one because it'll be historic. You're making part of history with us. I will have updates for you next week. I know you're all very excited, especially here in the United States. We're excited for Thanksgiving. So next week, we'll be sure to notify the field with our final hours for customer service here in the United States that service the world as well. And we'll plan as normal to have members night next Wednesday. And we'll continue as normal with our evening activities Tuesdays, Wednesday, and Thursday nights. So look out for more information. And that's the announcement I have. We want to send you all warm hugs. And thanks for being a part of Numi. We're very happy to see all of the growth worldwide and all of the partnerships that are being created through this wonderful opportunity. Cheers to all.
All right. I think you're handing to me. Welcome online, ladies and gentlemen. Today's session is a session that we've planned specifically for all of you because we brought out this fantastic new slide deck from the company. And so today I was asked by corporate if I could put together a training, if you like, which is around how to use that. So that's the aim of today's session. So with that in mind, this session will probably be recorded and then become a tool that we can send out to everybody as we go forward. So let's get into it. So we're going to talk about presenting like a pro and tips and strategies to increase your engagement and your conversions as a presenter. Okay, who would love better conversions? Type in yes if you would in the chat. And I don't care whether you're watching us on YouTube or watching us anywhere, type it in wherever you're watching it. And so that's the concept, if you like, but there's a few facts I want to run past you first, right? The first fact is we've already said this once before, and that is use a tool, don't be a tool. You've heard me say that before, right? What does that mean? Well, when new people are joining the business, you don't want to scare them off if they think, well, I couldn't present, so I couldn't build this business. Well, of course, you don't have to. No one said everybody has to present, right? But we're going to talk to you today about why it might be a good idea at a certain point in your career to start presenting, okay? So you can literally use your app. You can send out videos from professional presenters on every single topic that we have in Noomi, and you can build your business that way. But the next fact, which is really important, is perception is reality. Perception is reality. What do I mean? Well, whoever is a presenter in the group tends to be perceived by the followers as the real leader of the group. So what I mean, if you're trying to, be the leader of your group, yet you have your upline doing all the presenting and you've grown your business to 2-star or 3-star and you're not presenting, if you're wondering why people don't perceive you as the main leader, it's probably because they're saying, well, you're not stepping up and doing the basics. Okay. Now, like I say, go back. Could you build the business without presenting? Yes. But I'm going to talk about how it will enhance your business if you do become that presenter. So you can be perceived as the real leader of that group. The other fact, and I heard this in my 20s in network marketing, was this one: presenters never quit. In fact, I had a great mentor who I still love to this day, great friend of mine, Dean Campbell, based out of Perth. And Dean said, every single time I present, someone joins. And I'm like, wow, what a conversion rate. And then he clarified, he said, no, I rejoin. Every time I present, I get re-inspired. And that's why presenters never quit, because they're always talking about what we're doing and getting inspired every single time they present. So that's why presenters are less likely to quit a business than those who are just letting somebody else do the presentations and so forth. So the other fact is leaders show the way. They go the way, they know the way, then they show the way. So people do what you do in this industry, not what you say, right? It's a little bit like if you're texting and driving saying, kids, don't text and drive. They're not listening to you. They're watching you and they're going, well, you're a great example, aren't you, dad, mum, with your phone? So how on earth would you ever feel like you would have the credibility to teach something that you've never done? Now, I say this when we're talking about people starting in the business. Always start with your warm list, and you have these affiliate programs out there saying, oh, your upline's going to tell you to ring 100 people. It's ridiculous. Well, if you don't do that, and start with that, how can you teach it? And what do you want a cold contact to do? You want them to go to their warm list. So these affiliate programs make me laugh because they're trying to steer you away from what is the most productive thing. Similarly in this, if you never, ever, ever stand up and speak, do a testimonial, do an MC role, present or something, how can you teach it? You can't. You have to step out of the way and have your upline do all that coaching, because you can't teach theory. Theory does not cut it. Anyone opening up an Eric Worre book from Network Marketing Pro and saying, well, this is what Eric said, and if you've never done it, people will be rolling their eyes while you're talking. Another fact, and I love this, and Anton, if you're online right now watching the recording, thanks to Noomi Marketing, thanks to Anton, we have the most professional look and feel in the industry, I believe, right now with this new opportunity overview slide deck. And if you agree with that, type in yes, because I just think it is the best looking presentation I've ever presented. And, when we started Noomi, we were all getting our hands dirty and putting these presentations together ourselves. Now we don't have to do that. It's so amazing. So this is another fact for you. We're looking at a hammer. What the heck has a hammer got to do with today's presentation? Everything. Because just like a hammer can bang in a nail, and a hammer can flip around, use the claw and rip one out. It's just a tool. Now, these slides can be used in many, many different ways. You're not going to use it to bang in a nail or remove one, but you can use it in many ways we're going to cover off today. And I heard someone say this to us when the slides came out, who is not a network marketer. I'm not going to suggest where they came from, but they said These slides, anyone can present these slides. And although that's partially true, right, at its core, let me share a funny story. We had a fantastic set of slides in the mortgage industry, and we gave it to a guy who was a commercial lending manager, which is a very beaver, detailed personality. And he got up in front of a crowd and he kept saying, the writer says, and he went off with a sentence. Then he said, the writer says, and he went off with a sentence. And we're all sitting in the room going, what on earth is he talking? Who's the writer? And at the end, I went up and I said, hey, his name's Gary. I said, Gary, what's the writer says? He said, well, I'm the writer. I wrote it. I'm like, you're kidding me. So I wanted to hit myself in the head with the hammer because no one had taught him about how to present. So if you give a set of slides to somebody without any coaching or mentoring at all, you could be like handing a gun to a child. So today our aim is to show you, yes, it's really simple. Anyone can present, but there is some tweaks which will make you a lot more productive if you follow them. So field development, we talked about this last year. We said, you know what, you need to walk before you run. The romantic notion is, let me be a trainer in front of 20,000 people and everyone's going to love everything I'm saying. It's great. But if you go through the stages, we say, let's walk before you run. Do a 2-minute testimonial. Not hard to do, really basic. Then what about an MC? Okay, Irene, thank you for today. Irene put her hand up a while ago and said, I'll do an MC role. You know, was she nervous? Absolutely. Everybody who's put in their hands and done that has been nervous, right? Remember the first time you drove a car? I remember driving down a street the first time no one else was in the car with me and I was on my own going, oh my God, freedom at 18 years of age in Australia. I'm driving a car. And I felt like I was doing Mark 5 with my hair on fire, but I was doing 50 kilometers an hour down a side street because I was nervous and I was sweating. And now what do? You know, the ladies, I'll use a ladies example. They switch on their indicators, they're putting on their lipstick, they're talking to a friend on the phone and all this, turning corners, accelerating, braking, and it's just second nature. Everything is clunky at first, whether it's doing a 2-minute testimonial so you don't waffle and you do stick to 2 minutes, which we've taught you how to do on a previous event, whether it's understanding how to be a high energy MC like we just showed. The next one is becoming a presenter. The next one's a trainer and then train the trainer. Today, we're just going to focus on this one, how to be a good presenter. And you know, it's not a magical wand. We're just going to give you some strategies, hints and tips. So if you don't have a pen or something to write on right now in front of you, what are you thinking? We want you to take on board these things. The bluntest pencil remembers more than the sharpest mind. I just saw Irene's got hers. So if you're on camera, show me your piece of paper and your pen because you need to take some notes. Okay, beautiful. So let's talk about some thoughts first. Where are you going to use this? I said it's like a hammer. You know, bangs in nails, pulls them out. It's just a tool like a hammer. Well, you could be presenting online. You could be presenting just parts of the presentation. You could be presenting one-on-one with these slides. You could be presenting in a small group, or you could be presenting in a really large crowd. So we're going to cover off today the use or the way you would tweak that with every single person when you're doing that. Okay, whether it's online, whether using parts, we're going to give you tips on all 5 of these. Everyone written that down? And don't worry if you haven't, because I'm going to cover them one by one. So here's some questions for you personally, though. When should you start presenting? Now, that's really a personal choice. Like I said, some people probably, the thought of presenting ever might make them, you know, almost pass out, right? Public speaking apparently is considered lower than getting bitten by a snake or a spider in terms of people's reasons for dying. Right? They'd rather not stand up in front of a crowd. So don't worry about that for the moment. But my thoughts are, and this is just my opinion, and don't think that I know all the answers, right? Even a crown that says they know everything is just full of it. We are still learning, we're still green and growing, but I can tell you my perspective. And my perspective is that I think when you should start presenting is when you really want to own your group. When you want to be perceived as the leader, that's when you should start presenting. So if that means that's 1-star, 2-star, start now. From day one, should you be presenting from day one? Probably I'd say not. Why? Because I want you to be able to show people, hey, how hard was this? Numi 1, 2, 3. Watch this video, connect to this upline, try this product. Teach the basic system. But as you move forward to 1-star, 2-star or beyond, absolutely, I think it's a good idea to think about starting to present. Why should you start presenting? Well, we covered that. Because of the perception of you as a leader, because you can't teach what you've not done yourself. All of those reasons. And if anything, most people who get in network marketing who really see it as a long-term career understand growing as a person. This is something you can do. I did not present before network marketing, just so we're clear. I never presented online before. This week, some of you saw I've done some live stream events on social media that have had 20,000 views now. Holy crap, I saw this morning. 20,000 views. That's brand new software for me. That's something new that I've just learned. I've only learned it in the last 2 weeks. So we're all looking to grow and do new things, and I'd encourage you to see this as one of those steps in your development. How should you start presenting? How is a really good question. You walk before you run. This is why I said do a 2-minute testimonial, perfect that first, then become a great MC, not hard to do, and then let's start presenting. I would recommend you maybe co-present with somebody. And we've got a number of people all lined up to do the official presentation between now and next year. But I can tell you we're looking for more presenters, but some of them already stuck up their hand and said, pick me. Prue and Greg from New Zealand said, hey, we'll co-present, do half of it and learn. So that's the first time they've stepped up to do it, and you'll see them in January. I also had a couple of other people. I'm just scrolling through the list because I remember seeing someone just a minute ago who logged in and they've already said, I've lost them. They were ready to present as well. Oh, Christine, that's right, from Trinidad and Tobago. So all these different teams, these people are putting their hands up saying, I'd like to learn, and that's when you should start presenting and how you should start presenting. So let's talk about now, number one, if you're presenting online. We've got the tool, the amazing set of slides, but what are some tweaking things you should think about? First one I just covered, walk before you run. So co-present with somebody else. Right? There's a lot of power in just breaking each step down to a baby step, right? And so the baby step is, and this is what I said to Prue and Greg, just learn the first half, right up to maybe the testimonials or what have you, and then you can hand back to me. Don't worry about the complexities of explaining a comp plan. I'll do that. Then next time maybe you can do that one. And the time after maybe you can do the whole lot. That's how you cook a frog. Have you heard of that before? How do you cook a frog? You don't put them in hot water. You take them out, you put him in the cold water, and then you turn the heat up, and he goes, oh, it's like a sauna in here. It's a bit of a spa. This is comfortable. And then he's cooked, right? So you need to take one step at a time, okay? Second one, practice with a timer before you go live. Because one thing I'll say to you is this. Some people go, yeah, I'll step up. I'll be a presenter. Go practice on your own team before you practice on all of Noomi's people. What we don't want is someone jumping in here, presenting for Noomi Worldwide, live streaming, and cutting their teeth and practicing there. We want you to do it first, privately. Now, someone said to me yesterday, how did you get so proficient in presenting the new slides very fast? I said, what you didn't see is you didn't see the 6 times that I presented it with no one listening out loud at my desk before I ever did one version. That's why I intuitively know, because I said it out loud, what the next slide is before I click it. I already know because I've done it 6 times. So don't go on and go ta-da and start reading the slides. You'll stumble over words and stuff. You won't be as proficient than if you did a timer and you practiced half a dozen times before you do it in front of anybody. The third one. This is critical. Right now I've said, hey, type in this and type in that, and I can see 35 comments in the chat, but I've got the chat switched off for my vision. Why is that? If I get distracted, people type weird crap, excuse the French, into the chat sometimes when you're presenting. And if someone types something in and you focus on that, it could take your brain as a presenter away from the slides. So let someone else supporting you manage the chats. That's what I got Keith here for, and Irene and people like that, helping with emceeing and managing chats and letting people in the room. Don't try and multitask all those things at once because it will affect the flow of your presentation. Just switch everything off and keep going. If for any reason, something went wrong technology-wise, you dropped out, whatever, I can still see the cameras on the side, and I know that I'd have a wave from Keith if something was wrong, like I can't hear you or you're muted or whatever. So have the cameras there, not a problem, but don't read the chat because it will distract you. Start a timer when you do go live. So I said time yourself a few times, try and get it down to 25 minutes or less. But then when you start the first time, put your iPhone up the side, press start timer, because if you suddenly glance at that and go, hey, we're 35 minutes, with these slides, if you're 35 minutes, you have gone way, 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 way off track, right? And so under 30 minutes is ideal. 25 is perfect. Anything less, if you can do that, you're a miracle worker, because I haven't been able to get it down under 24 minutes, and I'm told I do speak fast. So there you go. Only freestyle when you're proficient. What do I mean? I've had some people say, you know what, I'm going to add my own way of saying things. And I go, that's perfect. But if you're going to go present it first, start by reading what's on the slides. You don't have to read every word, but start with the narrative is in front of you. And then if you get proficient down the track, absolutely, we want you to add personality. But if you think you've got to add the personality side first before practicing, you will be the person who presents for 40 minutes without even realizing it, right? So make sure you get proficient on the basics before you start freestyling. This is huge for online presenters. Ask questions to engage algorithms. Now, I've said a few times already, because it's just second nature now, type in yes if you agree with this, or, type in where you're from or whatever. Why do I do that? Honestly, and I say this with love, I don't really mind or care where you're logging in from. I do that because when you type it in, it pushes it up the social media ladder. So when you're doing an online presentation that might be live streamed, by asking these questions, it's tricking the algorithms in Facebook and those things to push it to the top of the news feed. That's how I got 20,000 views on this week's interviews I did on Monday. That's how I got 11,000 views the week before for the new interviews I did on the Monday, because I asked people to type in the chat, and then I went back in after the event and then answered them in the chat, which pushes it even further up the newsfeed. So ask questions to encourage the algorithms and encourage engagement, because talking one way to people is sometimes boring. Number 7, is your background professional? I don't mean what you do for a living. I mean behind you. If you look at Irene, I said to her when she logged in, wow, that looks fantastic. Now she's taken a step above the norm now. She's got the Numi backgrounds that we've created for you. And she also has a green screen and some good lighting. It doesn't have to be that complex. Just don't have your washing hanging out behind you at home when you're presenting. Now you might turn around and say, people don't care, it doesn't have to be that polished. That's fine when you're talking to your contacts. But when you're presenting for a downline, and I'm not saying this is right, but it's a fact of our lives, people judge you within the first few seconds. If you've got kids running around in the background, dogs barking, or washing hanging out right behind you with your underwear on full display, they are making a judgment about you. Right? Whether you go, oh, I don't care what people think. Well, that's lovely. But if you're starting to present for other people, you do have to think about that. Number 8, use a version with animations. Now, I've got animations happening right now to keep your eye on this. Is it as important when presenting live? Not necessarily. It's critical to have animations when you're presenting online, because people's eyes are reading the very last line. You even note that here, on this one, I've had them grey out as I've finished each point to keep your eye on that point. For everyone who's presenting, if you're going to come on and present for the company, we have one set of slides which has numerous testimonials added into it, and we're going to present that one reliably because we've got no curveballs coming in with things we haven't seen before. When you're presenting for your own groups, you can add your own testimonials and just make sure they're all compliant and have been all approved by the Numi NUU or compliance. But the version I have here, and all the presenters have been trained to use, has animations. The version from Anton has animations added to it that will work. So if you are wanting a copy of that, just feel free to reach out and I'll flick one through to you guys anytime you like. It's just sitting in Dropbox. It's the version that's already edited. But you can add your own as well, and you can totally freestyle what you want to do. Keep it under 20, 25 minutes, as I mentioned, because people's attention span doesn't go longer than that. And then don't drown them. What do I mean by that? This is a fact. Now, I can tell you, when I say this, I'm not just talking to you. 3 fingers are pointing back at me. I'm saying take my own medicine. Here's what happens in network marketing for the new people. You start off where you don't know what you're talking about. So you start reading the slides. Then you get to the point where your knowledge is increased. I've heard a lot of what Steve said about glutathione, and I've heard this from Michael Firth, and this from Alex Monterosa, and this from Karen Justice, and Dr. Jerry. Oh, this is great info. I'll add that. And suddenly you start drowning people in extra information that's not on the slides. And you get a really long presentation. So you start off short, doing what we've suggested, and then you start complicating it, and you get really, 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 really long. And then eventually you mature in your leadership and knowledge, and you come back to thinning that out and taking that rubbish out, right? I say that because I've done the same, right? I've gone a little bit of knowledge, short presentations, lots of knowledge. Oh, I'm drowning everybody. Why is it taking so long? Back to people don't need that information. And it's usually, and I say love and respect for all different personality types. Unfortunately, it's usually the otters, not the otters, sorry, the beavers, the detail ones goes, but they need to know this. Well, the presentation Brent Anton was put together beautifully to cover points that covers everything. You don't need to add a heap more information and drown it and drown the presentation out and drown them in too much information, okay? So they're the 10 top tips for presenting online. Let's now move into what happens when you're presenting a part. Now, I love this, and the picture of that lady on the little microphone there is designed for a reason, because she might be presenting online. She could be doing a podcast. She could be doing all sorts of things. She could be doing the interview style we did in the last 2 weeks, where we interview various people. Now, I have not used all the slides, but I have used the bit that gives the 3 things that make us unique about cell size and ultra purified water and so forth. That's a great addition. You could take part of those slides in and just put those in. So Anton and marketing have no issue if you pull slides out and only use part of them. The only issue we have is if you suddenly try and recreate this presentation in your own way and add a million things we haven't seen first. So feel free, take a few slides out, use that in a podcast, use it in some way. If anything, what it does when you pick out only the bits that help sell the points you're talking about, it promotes brand consistency. So if you watch the Numi New interviews or the sports performance interviews that happened this week, you'll see exactly the same look and feel of those 3 things that make us unique that's in the slides in the business presentation. That is great because it's professional, and a professional brand likes to keep brand consistency. So 3 things to think about when you're presenting parts in any way you choose, live, online, whatever you choose to do, okay? The next one, what about presenting to a large crowd? Now, I want to say this before I go any further. What I've covered is enough. If you're brand new and you haven't presented live, this would be the next tier. So you've been given an invitation to present to a large crowd. How would I use these slides in a different way? Well, the first thing I would say exactly the same. Still use the slides and know them inside out. Practice, 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 practice. Out loud, out loud, out loud, out loud. Burn it into your subconscious so you know what the next slide is before you click it. You only do that through practicing out loud. So do that because you don't want to be reading a slide and going, hang on, what's the words on this if you're presenting at a live event with 1,000 people? But use props to break it up. Use props to break it up. What could be a prop? Well, a prop could be anything, but let me just give an example. You know, you've seen Steve do it before. You know, this is so easy. All you got to do is, you know, there you go. That's done. Now, you might have a book. Maybe we're talking about network marketing. And if you don't know this, Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book called The Business School. He said the best business school on the planet is network marketing. And that's because it's not just theory. You learn the theory, but then you put it in practice by doing the business. And that's what makes the in network marketing industry the best business school on the planet. So maybe holding up a book of Robert Kiyosaki, you know, as Robert Kiyosaki said, because you're just taking their attention off just reading the slides behind you. It's a different dynamic than presenting online. We have more luxury of other things that we can be doing to engage a crowd rather than just having the slides and standing behind a podium. Okay, so use props, whatever the props may be. You could probably come up with other great ideas and cool ideas for that. If you're doing testimonials, please, 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 please pre-interview everybody. Now, the interviews you saw for the sports people this week, the interviews you saw for the Numi New interviews last week, every single person was pre-interviewed and told what they couldn't say, because some of them in their pre-interviews said, oh, my pain's gone away. I said, no, it hasn't, because that's a medical condition and you're not going to say that word. Oh, okay, I wasn't aware. Or my inflammation's gone. Well, pull out the compliance document. It tells you you're not allowed to use the word inflammation. Really? Didn't know that? Go read it. So by pre-interviewing somebody, I'm not going to get a curveball and I know what they're going to say. Another important tip for the rookies, never hand the microphone to a brand new person that you haven't interviewed. And even if you have, don't hand them the microphone. When their microphone's in their hand on stage, it's hard to shut them up if they like to waffle. If you said 2 minutes, I've handed the microphone in my younger years to someone who got told 2 minutes and 25 minutes later, they were still talking. I'm not kidding. It's embarrassing for them and it killed the event because they thought I think they liked the sound of their own voice, but they didn't understand that they were one string in the bow of an overall orchestra event, and they just took it off song. So hold the microphone, ask a question that you pre-interviewed, hold it back. Do not give it to them, because if you do, suddenly you can't end the conversation. Whereas if they are waffling, you say, hey, thanks very much for that, Mary. Now let's get back to it. So you hold the microphone, you control the outcome. Body language. This is huge. Now, I got told by a mentor many years ago, he said, stop listening to what they're saying. You know that now. Start watching what the presenters do on stage that makes them look professional. And he showed me something that I've got a photo somewhere I should show you guys. He said, if you're really panicking and you're really nervous, because I used to, the first time I presented on stage, I was wearing a green olive colored shirt. Within 2 minutes, there was big sweat marks coming down here. I was dabbing my forehead. I was like, oh, you guys hot? And they're like, it's 4 degrees outside. So it's just nerves. But he said, sometimes you can have a stance that'll help you relax. So for some people, it's hanging on to the podium and you're not going anywhere. For me, he said, if you want to do this, it'll help relax you. Walk around to the side of the podium and just lean on the podium while you're talking to people. Just relaxed, you know, hey guys, what do you think about this? I've done that many times. And if you watch me at the summit and the different presentations, you'll see I do that. And it's a conscious decision, because I remember he said it makes you look more relaxed if you're just leaning on the podium and having a chin wag with people. You relax, the crowd relaxes. Okay? Very important. So body language. Not only that, on body language, sometimes people say, put up your hand if you agree with this. No hands go up. It's like telekinesis. Right? How you can move people's hands. If you say, put up your hands if you agree, if you put your hand up, all the hands go up. It's bizarre. So another tip taught to me by a professional presenter, right? So body language from your perspective, very, very, very important. Let's get back into it. So next one. Using prepared spontaneity. What is that? Well, I had a coach, I paid for a coach, a speaker coach many years ago. And he was a comedian. And I'm like, why am I listening to a comedian about speaking? And he said, Michael, comedy is an art, but it's actually a science. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, well, when you listen now, and I challenge you to do this tonight or over the weekend, watch one of the comedians and hear how they, for want of a better word, bait and switch you. They go down a path and you're expecting a certain outcome, and then they say something at the end, which is the opposite of what you thought. And you think, wow, that was hilarious, and everyone's erupting in laughter. He said they all practiced that prepared spontaneity. It sounded spontaneous, but it was very well prepared. So as a presenter, if you're going to do a presentation for NUMI, maybe you're invited to speak at the summit or something like that, spend your time understanding your slides and your topic. But if all you do is talk facts, you will bore the crap out of people. So have some stuff in there that might be some prepared spontaneity, a bit of fun. Maybe you're a heartfelt person. Maybe you're someone who likes humor. Whatever it is, add a bit of that. Stories sell, facts only tell. You have the greatest mentor on the planet for this. Steve Scott, every point he wants you to absorb, what does he do? He tells you a story. So stories sell, facts only tell. So include stories in that. I mentioned one earlier, and this is prepared spontaneity. I remembered the guy who said, the writer says, the writer says, the writer says, right? So I included the story to make a point about not doing death by PowerPoint, right? So you can do exactly the same. Think of some stories that you can weave into your presentation. Learn the speaker's body language. And like I said before, that's things like leaning on a podium. It could be walking around the stage. Some people just pace so much, the cameraman can't even keep up with them. So maybe slow it down a bit. Test the technology. Huge one. Huge, 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 huge. What do I mean? Well, I've done this myself, guilty as charged, rocked up to the event. Someone says, it's cool, we've tested the computer, we've tested the sound, we've tested everything. I'm a pain in the ass now because I say, that's awesome. Can I just test it as well? And they're like, no, we've already tested it. You know how many times I've gone to an event and you go up and then something's not working and I'm like, I trusted the person who said they tested it and they didn't, and you look like a fool. So don't take a chance. If you're a speaker, say, that's cool. Can I just go up and test as well? I just want to test my clicker, just want to test my microphone, want to test my slides are all working. Do that before the event starts, just to be triple sure that nothing's going to blow up in your face. Don't rely on anybody else to do it. All right, so test the technology on the event at the time. Hold the microphone right. See, this lady here is holding a microphone and she hasn't got it right up at her lips. Now, everyone is different. Every venue is different. But I just want to say this. I was taught, a lot of people get this pop, 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 pop noise because the microphone's in front of their face. So I got told by a professional speaker, grab it, hold it, lock it to your chest bone right there, just under your chin, and then speak. That's why I say test the microphone, test the technology. Because if I do that and the people who are doing the sound have got it set up really low and it doesn't hear me, that's not my fault. That's their fault. They don't understand science and sound and microphones. Tell them, turn it up. When I'm there, I'm going to have it here. Because there's no popping because it's going over the top. The second you go like this, poppity, 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 pop, and people going, stop doing that. And that'll distract from a professional presentation as well. Remember, I'm talking to the people who are presenting, not just baby stepping into the first steps here. So hold the microphone right. That's a good tip for a live event. Look them in the eye. What do I mean? Sometimes when you're really nervous, you want to sort of just stare out at everybody. Start eyeballing a few people. There's Irene in the crowd. There's Keith in the crowd. You know, there's Ratu. There's Jackie. There's Martin. They're the people I see on the screen. I'll be looking at them and I'll be talking a specific point to you, and they'll be looking over and I'm talking a specific point to you and a specific point to you. If it's your first presentation and that scares the willies out of you, that's okay. Just look over the crowd. But when you get better at it, start eyeballing people. It'll help you relax as well because it's a little bit more interactive and people feel you're talking to them. You're not just, you know, talking over the top of them. All right, so that's a large crowd. This is a critical reason. This is the main reason I wanted to do the presentation today, is this dynamic from here to the next one. Some untrained presenters will do a large event in the same way as a small event. Ba-boom, bad move. Let me tell you what I mean. Have you ever gone to an event and you're expecting 100 people and 15 turn up? I have, right? What if you're expecting 20 and 5 turn up? Uh-oh. And you get up there on your podium and you present the same with you to a big crowd, you're not going to engage. So the first thing is always and arrive early. And I've done this in Indonesia. And Jonathan, you can type yes in the chat if you agree. Did I or did I not come up to Jonathan and Buddy in the first event and I said, guys, do me a favor, take out some chairs, right? Too many chairs, empty chairs give the impression of a crappy event. So put out less chairs than the fully confirmed event numbers, right? And then bring them out. So for example, the venue's set up for 1,000 people, right? Or let's say small event. Venue's set up for 100 people and they put out 100 chairs, but we know we've got 80 registrations. The novice, the poorly trained network marketer thinks, that's okay, we'll fill them. The person who understands this thing goes, hey, so we've got 80 confirmations, 20 of them might not turn up, put it down to 50 chairs and put some up at the back of the room and pull them out as needed. All of a sudden, the 50 chairs are full. And we're going, whoa, didn't expect so many people. Bit of, you know, spinning here. Let's bring out 10 more chairs. Let's fill the room. Wow, we're full. That changes the dynamic for you as a speaker because it's very hard to speak to an empty room of 100 chairs and 10 people. It's really hard to get the energy going. Second one, pivot. What do I mean? You see the guy here sitting on a stool. So one thing you can do to relax you and the crowd is if you're expecting a big number of people and there's only a tiny amount there, don't stand up on the podium. Just ask, has anyone got a bar stool yet? Pull it up to the front row of the people there, sit on the chair and just have a chin wag with people, right? When you do that, you personalize the presentation more and you relax as well. While you're sitting relaxed on, I just realized you're not seeing the screen. If you're sitting relaxed on this bar stool, you look more relaxed. In a small crowd, it's more interactive, all right? So pivot and be ready to do something like that. If you have arrived and there's a smaller crowd, get to know some names prior. And you can do this in a large crowd as well, right? Because when you mention names in the crowd, it becomes a more interactive presentation, right? So get to know a few names beforehand so you can refer to them during your presentation. Relate to points that are specific to the individuals. Maybe, you know, you're talking about a conversation I had earlier with Christine who wants to present in February, you know, those sorts of things. And finally, interact. If it's a small one, don't talk at them. Obviously, 1,000 people, you're talking at a crowd, not always, but more. Whereas when you're in a small group, you know, interact, you know, you'd agree with that, wouldn't you, Irene, based on what we said the other day? You know, Martin, you know, when we said that, you know, so interact with the crowd when it's smaller. See what I mean? Yes, anyone can present these slides, but without these tips, you could actually be running off a cliff face. Finally, one-on-one. right? One-on-one. Could you present these one-on-one? Absolutely. In fact, we haven't confirmed this yet, but I'll say it. We spoke yesterday at the Indonesian leadership meeting online, which we have every week. We talked about, can we get the slides put into a physical flip chart? Because Indonesia, some people don't have laptops, and the company's gone, we're going to look into that and see if we can get it done. We'll use Indonesia as the test case. And if that works, I'm sure then we'll be able to do that for other countries that needs it. Here in Australia, America, Canada, everyone's got a computer. That's not a big deal. But in other countries like that, great idea, which was proposed when chatting with the leaders there yesterday. So one-on-one, you may have heard of this, and if you haven't done the study on the NUMI 123 system and then the third-party validation video, you may not have heard this, but hopefully you have. There's a process that Tim Sales, who created the professional inviter concept in network marketing, taught me many years ago, which was greet, qualify, invitation. Greet, qualify, invitation. So greet means build rapport, get to know the person you're talking to, have them laugh a little, find some common ground, right? Qualify means get to know your prospect's needs, wants, desires, and don't wants. Now, we do this in every single three-way call, every single three-way Zoom. We don't just launch into what NUMI's about. We build rapport, the greeting. We do the qualify. We ask what they've looked at, try and find out a bit more about them so we know how to pitch. The same concept applies when you're doing it one-on-one. Arrive for your coffee one-on-one, build rapport, talk about the weather, talk about the day, talk about whatever to get the bond, and then ask qualifying questions. How's work going? Mary referred you to have a chat to talk about this. I'm curious, what was the first thing that struck you about wanting to check it out? Have you been involved in network marketing before? Do you know anything about glutathione? All these questions. So you're not doing the Spanish Inquisition, but you are asking quality questions to get to understand the person before you open your mouth and try and sell. Personality types. Understand them. Now, it's less relevant on a big stage than it is one-on-one, but I'm going to show you something. I am a lion otter. For those people who do color coding, I am red-blue, okay? Very blue today. But that means I like to talk faster, I like fun, but I also am very direct. And sometimes I can come across as, to someone who's, say, a golden retriever. I'm like, I didn't mean to offend you. I was just saying, this is the way it is. We talk more direct. If you are presenting to a lion and you are a golden retriever, or you're an otter with the detail, if the lion looks at their watch, you just blew it 10 minutes ago. That's their symbol of going, you're boring me, you're taking too long, get to the point. That's the polite lions. Some of the non-polite ones will say, can you just get to the point? And you're going to be offended, but it's just because you didn't pick your mark right. A lion wants a quick presentation, get to the point. Don't add all this superfluous rubbish. A golden retriever wants a slower pace, wants to know people are important, right? An otter, they just want fun, right? So you talk about you're going to be traveling the world with your friends and having parties and, eating saganaki in Greece with Irene and George and Andreas, having a ball. That's me, right? So pitch accordingly. So understand personality types. And if you haven't studied the personality types, this time I'm going to read the chat. I'm just curious. Type in yes if you've studied Steve's personality types, and type in no if you have not. Got a lot of yeses. This is good stuff. And if you haven't, no is not a bad answer. It's an honest answer. A lot of yeses. This is good. Not yet. No, forgot mine. There you go. Great. So number one thing to do if you're ever going to present is go look at those. Because when you look at the personality types, you realize you can turn around and say, well, I'm just a lion, so I'm going to be this way. I had an upline like that, and he wondered why people hated him, right? Because he wasn't pitching according to them. It's like, my way is the only way, and I've never needed to worry about personality types. And I'm like, that explains a lot, right? So learn how to relate to others. Personality types are very, very, very important, and more important on the one-on-ones than ever before. Be prepared to pivot. What do I mean? If you suddenly had a lion look at their watch and you're halfway through the presentation, be prepared to jump a couple of slides and go to a specific point. Don't feel like, oh no, I still have to cover every word on all of these slides. So that's what I mean about it's a hammer. Pulls out a nail, bangs one in. Just jump ahead, go to the key points. Very rarely, if I was presenting one-on-one, would I ever cover every single detail on every single slide, because my I know that it's more important for me to build a relationship and rapport, find out the qualifying answers of what they need to know to qualify, and then pitch accordingly. And I might skip 70% of the slides just to get to the bits I know they need to hear based on the conversation. So let's recap as we've gone through this today. Just like a hammer can bang in a nail and flip around and claw one out, these slides can be used in many ways. And as someone said, anyone can present this. Well, yes, they can, but today you've got a few more tips that you'll learn that will help you when you're using that hammer so you don't bang yourself in the head. Recapping, when should you start presenting? That's up to you, but I would encourage you to step up if you want to be the leader. Why? Because you want people to see you as a true leader of your business at some point. How? Simple, baby steps. Start co-presenting half of it with an upline as a friend or anybody. Practice, practice, practice. Everything is hard at the start, but over time becomes normal and easy. So as we wrap up, I want to reach out and say two things. Number one, please reach out to me or your upline if you're ready to be an MC, to do a testimonial for 2 minutes, or whether you'd like to learn how to present. Specifically, if you'd like to be visible on the live streamed presentation that we present. Like I said, we've got all of December and January right up to February now set with presenters, and you'll see new faces in January and February. And that's good for those individuals to be seen, because when someone gets onto the YouTube channel for Numi, they go, oh, Irene, oh, Keith, oh, Jackie, oh, Martin. So they will see you, and that is an edification of you being one of the preferred presenters, because you only get to present there if you're doing the presentation in the style we want duplicated, which means you are a preferred presenter. You don't have to be me. You don't have to be Keith. You don't have to be Rhonda and Sherry. I mean, they're full of energy. You don't have to be them. You have to be the best version of yourself and present the best version of yourself when you're presenting the slides. That's all. And the last thing I want to say is to vote for Aaron, okay? So I say that because we are currently, I'm going to show you the slides, actually, not the slides, I'm going to show you the screen. We are currently up to, look at this. How do I go back here? Here we go. Check this out. We are ranked in the world right now on the Business for Home. This is the Business for Home site. If you haven't seen it, there's a lot of articles about Numi in here, so go read them if you didn't know that. Press releases, all sorts of stuff. Type in the word Numi up the top, and then you'll find them. But this is the direct selling best CEO in the world. And so when you scroll down there, 24 days to go, look at this. We are already number 7. Now, I know that most of you haven't voted yet. That's why we're only number 7. We can be number 1. And you might say, that's a long way to go, but that's because most of you haven't voted. You're all going, oh yeah, my friends have voted. Imagine if that happened. Oh, I won't even go there in the US. Right, that's a whole topic, not to go, don't politics. But yes, if not everybody voted, there may have been a different outcome. So, no, that's important just to make sure you scroll through. So how do you do that? You'll notice when you go to the page, it'll say, fill out this form. Oh, not that one. That's if you missed a copy. Download this app and then just place your vote. You can only vote once, all right? So that's an important thing to think about doing as well. So I hope you got a lot out of today's event. And if you did, I'd love to see some feedback now in the chat, because I put a bit of effort in making sure that today's session would hit the mark for all of you. And with that in mind, just to close out, I'm going to hand back to you, Irene.
Oh, hello. Okay. Yeah, don't forget to vote, guys. I've voted already, the first day actually. And let's invite everyone tomorrow. We do have a call with our amazing founder, Stephen K. Scott, presenting our Thursday evening call at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And it was really nice seeing you all, everybody here. And thanks for letting me MC. I appreciate it.